The morning sun barely touched the ancient stones of Windsor Castle as Princess Catherine sat quietly in her private room. She held a warm cup of tea in her hands, but could not drink it. Her stomach felt upset, and her head was spinning. For weeks now she had been feeling sick and tired. The doctors had run many tests, but Catherine tried to keep smiling for everyone around her. Prince William walked into the room and saw his wife looking pale and worried. He sat down next to her and took her hand gently. They had been married for many years now, and he could tell when something was very wrong. Catherine looked at him with tears in her eyes. She was scared about what the doctors might find. William squeezed her hand and promised they would face whatever came together. Down the hall, King Charles was having his own difficult morning. He had been feeling unwell for months too. The palace doctors visited him every day now. His personal secretary brought him papers to sign, but Charles found it hard to focus on royal duties. He worried about his health and about what would happen to the royal family if he became too sick to work. The palace staff moved quietly through the corridors. Everyone could feel that something serious was happening. The usual cheerful chatter was replaced by whispered conversations. Housekeepers exchanged worried looks as they cleaned the royal apartments. The kitchen staff prepared special meals for Catherine and the king based on what the doctors had ordered. Outside the palace walls, the British newspapers were starting to ask questions. Royal reporters noticed that Catherine had not been seen in public for several weeks. They also saw that King Charles looked tired during his last few appearances. The headlines began to speculate about what was really happening inside the royal family. Catherine tried to keep her daily routine normal for her 3 children. Prince George was now old enough to notice when his mother seemed sad or tired. Princess Charlotte asked why Mama was spending so much time in bed. Little Prince Louis just wanted his mother to play with him like before. Catherine felt guilty that she could not give her children the energy and attention they deserved. William found himself carrying more and more responsibility on his shoulders. He attended royal events alone when Catherine was too unwell to join him. He also tried to help his father with some of the king's duties. At night he would lie awake thinking about the future. What if Catherine was seriously ill? What if something happened to his father? The weight of possibly becoming king sooner than expected felt overwhelming. The palace communications team held urgent meetings every day. They needed to decide how much information to share with the public. If they said too little, people would create their own stories, which might be worse than the truth. If they said too much, they might cause panic or invade the royal family's privacy during a difficult time. Princess Anne arrived at the palace one afternoon to check on her brother Charles and her sister-in-law Catherine. She was known for being practical and strong. Anne could see that the family was struggling, but she also knew they needed to stay united. She suggested that all the senior royals should meet to discuss how to handle the situation together. The British people had no idea how serious things had become inside the royal family. They still waved at royal cars and bought magazines with pictures of William and Catherine. But soon they would learn that their beloved royal family was facing the biggest challenge in decades. The storm clouds were gathering and change was coming, whether anyone was ready for it or not. Catherine looked out her window at the gardens where her children played. She made a silent promise that no matter what the doctors found, she would fight to stay strong for her family and for the people who looked up to her as their future queen. The grandfather clock in the main hallway of Kensington Palace chimed midnight as Prince William walked slowly through the quiet rooms. He could not sleep again tonight. His mind was full of worries about Catherine and about what tomorrow might bring. The palace felt different now. Even the familiar paintings on the walls seemed to watch him with concern. Catherine was finally resting in their bedroom after another difficult day. The doctors had visited again and run more tests. They spoke in quiet voices using medical words that William did not fully understand, but he could see from their faces that they were taking her condition very seriously. Catherine tried to stay brave, but William knew she was frightened. Earlier that evening, William had tucked his 3 children into bed. Prince George had asked why Mama seemed so tired all the time. William struggled to find the right words to explain without scaring his eldest son. Princess Charlotte had drawn a picture of flowers to make her mother feel better. Little Prince Louis just wanted both his parents to read him a bedtime story together, like they used to do. The next morning brought a phone call that made everything feel more serious. King Charles' personal doctor wanted to meet with William privately. They sat in the king's study surrounded by old books and family photographs. The doctor explained that Charles' health problems were more complicated than anyone had realized. He might need to reduce his royal duties significantly in the coming months. William felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders like a heavy coat. He was not ready to take on so much so soon. He had always known this day would come, but he thought it would be many years in the future. Now he might need to step forward as the main working royal, while also caring for his sick wife and young children. Catherine spent most of her days in the private family rooms now. She tried to keep up with her children's schoolwork and listen to their stories about friends and games. But simple tasks that used to be easy now left her feeling exhausted. She worried about disappointing people who were expecting her at charity events and official ceremonies. The palace staff noticed how much pressure William was under. His private secretary began rearranging his schedule to include more royal duties. The communications team prepared statements explaining why Catherine would not be attending planned events. Everyone tried to protect the family's privacy while managing the growing public interest in their situation. Late one evening, William and Catherine sat together in their sitting room. The children were asleep, and the palace was quiet around them. They talked honestly about their fears for the first time in weeks. Catherine admitted she was scared about her health and worried about letting down the royal family. William told her about the pressure he felt to be strong for everyone, while feeling lost and frightened inside. They held hands and made important decisions together. No matter what the doctors discovered, they would face it as a team. They would be honest with their children in age-appropriate ways. Most importantly, they would not let fear stop them from living their lives and serving their country when Catherine felt well enough. Catherine looked at her husband with new determination in her eyes. She realized that hiding her struggles was not protecting anyone. Maybe by being open about their challenges, they could show other families that even royals faced difficult times. Maybe their honesty could help others feel less alone in their own struggles. William saw the strength returning to his wife's face and felt hope for the first time in weeks. They were stronger together than either could be alone. Whatever was coming next, they would meet it with courage and with love for each other and their family. The rain drummed against the tall windows of Windsor Castle as the royal family gathered for the most important meeting in years. King Charles had called everyone together after weeks of difficult decisions and medical appointments. The ancient walls of the castle had witnessed many family discussions, but none quite like this one. Princess Anne arrived first, driving her own car as she always did. She walked through the castle doors with her usual confident stride, but her face showed concern. Anne had been worried about her brother Charles and her sister-in-law Catherine for weeks. She knew this meeting would change everything for their family. Prince Edward and his wife, Sophie, came next, bringing their calm and steady presence to the gathering. They had always been supportive family members who worked quietly behind the scenes. Today, their wisdom and experience would be especially valuable as the family faced uncertain times ahead. William and Catherine arrived together, walking slowly through the familiar corridors. Catherine looked pale but determined to be part of this important discussion. She had insisted on attending even though the doctors suggested she should rest. William stayed close beside her, ready to support her if she needed help. The family gathered in King Charles' private sitting room, surrounded by comfortable chairs and family photographs. Tea and sandwiches were served, but no one seemed very hungry. The atmosphere felt heavy with unspoken worries and the weight of responsibility that came with being part of the royal family. King Charles looked around at his family members and took a deep breath before speaking. He explained that his health problems were more serious than the public knew. The doctors had told him he needed to slow down significantly and might need to step back from many royal duties. His voice was steady, but everyone could hear the sadness in his words. Catherine spoke next, sharing her own health struggles with the family for the first time. She had been trying to protect everyone by keeping her problems private, but now she realized they needed to face this together. Her voice was quiet but strong as she described the difficult weeks she had been through. William talked about the pressure he felt trying to support Catherine while taking on more royal duties. He admitted he sometimes felt overwhelmed by the responsibility of possibly becoming the main working royal sooner than anyone expected. His honesty surprised some family members who were used to seeing him as always confident and in control. Princess Anne listened carefully to everyone before sharing her thoughts. She had seen the royal family through many difficult times and knew they were stronger when they worked together. She suggested they needed to be more open with the British people about their challenges while maintaining their dignity and privacy. Prince Edward agreed that honesty might be better than letting rumors and speculation grow in the newspapers. Sophie added that showing their human side during difficult times might actually help people feel more connected to the royal family rather than less. The family spent hours discussing how to handle the situation. They talked about which royal duties were most important and how to share the workload. They planned how to communicate with the public without sharing too many private medical details. Most importantly, they'd promised to support each other through whatever came next. By the end of the afternoon, the royal family had made a decision that would change their future. Instead of hiding their struggles, they would show the world that even royals faced difficult times, but could overcome them with family support and determination. They would demonstrate that strength came not from being perfect, but from facing challenges together with courage and love. As the family members prepared to leave the castle that evening, there was a new sense of unity among them. They had a plan, and they had each other. The storm clouds were still gathering, but now they were ready to face whatever weather was coming their way. The communications office at Buckingham Palace buzzed with activity like a busy beehive. Royal staff members sat around large tables covered with calendars, newspapers, and photograph albums. Coffee cups and notebooks filled every available space as the team worked late into the evening planning, something that had never been attempted before. Sarah, the head of royal communications, had been working for the palace for 15 years, but had never faced a challenge quite like this one. She needed to plan a series of public appearances that would show the royal family was strong and united while being honest about their recent struggles. Every detail mattered because the whole world would be watching. The team studied photographs from previous royal events, looking for inspiration. They wanted to find the perfect balance between showing strength and showing the human side of the royal family. The pictures needed to tell a story of hope and recovery without being too dramatic or staged-looking. William joined several planning meetings, sharing his thoughts about what kind of events would feel most natural for Catherine when she was ready to return to public life. He knew his wife better than anyone and understood which situations would help her feel comfortable and confident again. The team listened carefully to his suggestions about timing and locations. Catherine herself met with the communications team from her private rooms at Kensington Palace. She looked much better than she had weeks earlier, and her voice was stronger when she spoke about her hopes for returning to royal duties. She wanted her comeback to mean something important, not just be about getting photographed at events. The team decided Catherine's first major appearance should be at a children's hospital where she had worked before her illness. The setting would feel familiar and meaningful to her, while showing the public that she was ready to continue her charitable work. The hospital staff were thrilled to welcome her back and promised to help make the visit special. Planning William's increased role required careful thought about which events would showcase his leadership abilities. The team selected a mixture of serious occasions like business meetings and lighter events like sports competitions. They wanted to show that William could handle both the formal responsibilities and the fun parts of being a future king. The palace photographers worked closely with the communications team to plan exactly how each event would be documented. They needed pictures that would tell the story of royal recovery and unity. Every angle and lighting setup was discussed to make sure the photographs would send the right message to newspapers and social media around the world. Security arrangements became more complicated as the team planned multiple high-profile appearances in a short time period. The royal protection officers studied each location carefully and coordinated with local police forces. They knew there would be larger crowds than usual because people were eager to see Catherine and William together again. The team also planned special roles for the three royal children at appropriate events. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis would appear at family-friendly occasions where their natural charm could help show that the royal family was happy and normal despite their recent challenges. Timing became crucial as doctor's appointments and medical treatments had to be balanced with public appearances. The schedule needed flexibility in case Catherine had difficult days when she could not attend planned events. Backup plans were created for every possible situation. As the planning continued, everyone involved felt excited about what they were creating. This would not be just a return to normal royal duties, but a new beginning that showed the royal family could be both strong and vulnerable at the same time. The comeback would prove that facing difficulties honestly could make the royal family even more beloved by the British people. The stage was being set for something remarkable that would change how people thought about royalty forever. The black royal car pulled up slowly outside Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital on a bright Tuesday morning. Inside, Catherine took a deep breath and smoothed down her blue dress. Her hands were shaking slightly, but her eyes showed determination. After weeks of staying out of public view, she was finally ready to face the world again. William sat beside her and squeezed her hand gently. He could feel her nervousness, but also her excitement about returning to the work she loved. The hospital had been one of Catherine's favorite places to visit before her illness began. Today it would be the perfect setting for her comeback to public life. Outside the car, dozens of photographers and reporters waited behind metal barriers. Camera flashes started going off the moment the royal car stopped. Catherine could see curious faces pressed against hospital windows as patients and staff tried to get a glimpse of her arrival. She felt her heart beating faster, but reminded herself why she was here. The car door opened, and Catherine stepped out with the grace and poise that the British people remembered and loved. She wore a gentle smile that reached her eyes and waved to the crowd that had gathered to welcome her back. Cheers and applause erupted from the people who had waited hours just to see her again. William walked beside Catherine as they approached the hospital entrance. Their steps were perfectly matched, and they looked like a team ready to take on the world together. Catherine paused to accept flowers from a little girl whose mother had brought her to see the princess. The moment was captured by every camera present. Inside the hospital, Catherine transformed into the caring person everyone remembered. She knelt down to talk with young patients and listened carefully to their stories. A 7-year-old boy named Tommy showed her his drawings, and Catherine spent several minutes admiring each one. Her natural warmth and genuine interest made everyone in the room feel special. The hospital staff were amazed by how comfortable Catherine seemed despite being away from public events for so long. She remembered names of nurses she had met before and asked about programs she had supported in the past. Her dedication to the hospital's work was clear to everyone watching. During a visit to the cancer ward, Catherine met a teenage girl named Emma who was undergoing treatment. Emma had been following news about Catherine's health struggles and told the princess how inspiring it was to see her back at work. The two talked quietly about being brave during difficult times and supporting each other through challenges. Catherine also spent time in the hospital's new research center, where doctors were working on treatments for children with serious illnesses. She asked thoughtful questions about their work and promised continued support for their important research. The scientists were impressed by how much she understood about their complicated medical projects. The highlight of the visit came when Catherine joined a music therapy session with young patients. She clapped along as children sang songs and even joined in with some of the simpler tunes. Her laughter filled the room and reminded everyone why she was so beloved by the British people. As the visit ended, Catherine and William walked back through the hospital corridors, surrounded by smiling staff members and happy children. The princess looked tired but fulfilled as she waved goodbye to everyone who had made her return so special. Outside the hospital, Catherine paused to speak with reporters for the first time in months. Her voice was clear and strong as she thanked everyone for their support during her recovery. She spoke about how much the visit had meant to her and her excitement about returning to royal duties. The photographs from that day showed a princess who had faced adversity and emerged stronger than before. Catherine's brave return marked the beginning of a new chapter for the royal family. The conference room at the Royal Foundation was packed with business leaders, community organizers, and charity workers who had come to hear Prince William speak. This was his biggest solo event since taking on more royal responsibilities, and everyone could sense the importance of the moment. William walked to the podium with confidence, but also with the weight of representing his family and his country on his shoulders. William began his speech by talking about mental health issues that affected millions of people across Britain. His voice was strong and clear as he shared stories about families struggling with depression, anxiety, and other challenges. The audience listened carefully as he explained new programs that would help people get the support they needed during difficult times. After his speech, William spent an hour answering questions from the audience. A teacher asked about helping children deal with stress at school. A business owner wanted to know how companies could better support employees with mental health problems. William answered each question thoughtfully, showing he understood real problems that ordinary people faced every day. The next week, William visited a homeless shelter in London where he had worked before as a volunteer. He arrived without fanfare and rolled up his sleeves to help serve meals to people who had nowhere else to go. The shelter residents were surprised and pleased to see the future king treating them with such respect and kindness. William sat down to eat lunch with several homeless men and women, listening to their stories about how they had ended up on the streets. He learned about job losses, family problems, and health issues that had changed their lives completely. One elderly man named Robert told William about losing his apartment after his wife died and having no family to help him. During the visit, William also met with shelter staff to discuss expanding their services. He promised royal support for their fundraising efforts and suggested ways to connect their work with other organizations helping homeless people. The shelter director was amazed by how much William understood about the complex causes of homelessness. That same week, William attended a climate change conference where world leaders were discussing environmental protection. He delivered a passionate speech about saving the planet for future generations, including his own 3 children. His words were quoted in newspapers around the world as he called for urgent action on global warming. William also visited several schools to promote education programs that taught children about protecting the environment. At one primary school, he joined students in planting trees in the school garden. The children were excited to dig in the dirt alongside a real prince who seemed just as enthusiastic about gardening as they were. During a visit to a renewable energy plant, William learned about new technologies that could help Britain reduce pollution and create clean electricity. He asked detailed questions about wind turbines and solar panels, showing he was genuinely interested in finding solutions to environmental problems rather than just talking about them. The media began noticing how comfortable William looked in his expanded role as a senior royal. Newspaper headlines praised his natural leadership abilities and his genuine concern for important social issues. Television reporters commented on how he seemed to grow more confident with each public appearance. William also began meeting regularly with government ministers to discuss policy issues affecting Britain. These private meetings showed he was preparing to take on even greater responsibilities as his father continued to deal with health problems. Civil servants were impressed by his preparation and thoughtful questions during these discussions. By the end of the month, it was clear that William had successfully stepped into a leadership role that suited him perfectly. He was no longer just supporting his father and wife, but had become a strong royal figure in his own right. The British people were beginning to see their future king emerging with confidence and capability. The village green in Windsor was decorated with colorful bunting and filled with the sounds of children laughing and families enjoying a perfect summer afternoon. The annual community festival had drawn hundreds of local residents, but today felt extra special because the royal family would be joining the celebration. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis walked hand in hand with their parents, looking excited about the fun day ahead. 10-year-old Prince George had grown taller over the summer and carried himself with the quiet confidence that came from being the future heir to the throne. He wore a simple polo shirt and jeans, just like the other children at the festival. When a group of boys his age invited him to join their football game, George looked to his parents for permission, then ran off to play with obvious delight. Princess Charlotte, at 8 years old, had developed into a spirited and confident little girl who was not afraid to speak her mind. She wore a pretty flowered dress and had her hair tied back in a ponytail that bounced as she walked. Charlotte immediately spotted the face painting booth and tugged on her mother's hand, asking if she could get butterflies painted on her cheeks. 5-year-old Prince Louis was full of energy and curiosity about everything around him. He had recently started school and was eager to show off his new skills to anyone who would listen. Louis wore shorts and a bright blue shirt that matched his sparkling eyes as he pointed excitedly at the carnival games and asked if he could try them all. The family started their visit at the local craft tent where children were making friendship bracelets and painting pottery. Charlotte sat down immediately and began creating a colorful bracelet while chatting easily with the other girls at the table. She complimented their work and shared her own art supplies when someone needed extra beads for their project. George joined a group building model airplanes and showed genuine interest in learning how the wings and engines worked. An elderly volunteer named Mr. Thompson was impressed by George's thoughtful questions and attention to detail. The future king seemed just like any other curious boy who loved learning about how things were made. Louis discovered the puppet show tent and was completely enchanted by the silly characters on stage. He clapped enthusiastically at all the right moments and called out warnings when the puppet villain appeared. His genuine reactions made everyone around him smile and reminded adults why children brought such joy to simple pleasures. At the traditional games area, all 3 children tried their hand at ring toss and beanbag throwing. Charlotte showed surprising skill at hitting the targets while George helped younger children learn the proper throwing technique. Louis needed several attempts but celebrated each small success with such enthusiasm that the whole crowd started cheering for him. The highlight of the day came when the children joined the community choir for a sing-along of popular songs. Charlotte knew all the words and sang with confidence while George hummed along quietly. Louis swayed to the music and clapped his hands even when he did not know the lyrics. Their parents watched with proud smiles as their children connected naturally with the local community. During the picnic lunch, the royal children sat on blankets with other families sharing sandwiches and fruit. They listened politely to stories from elderly residents and played simple games with toddlers who were too young to understand they were playing with real princes and princess. As the afternoon ended, the 3 children helped clean up the festival grounds without being asked. They collected empty cups and folded chairs, showing they understood the importance of helping others and taking responsibility for shared spaces. The photographs from that day captured the essence of what made these royal children so special. They were confident but not spoiled, polite but not stiff, and genuinely interested in the people around them. The British public fell in love with their future royals all over again. The grand ballroom of the Royal Opera House had been transformed into something magical for the evening that would bring together everything the royal family had been working toward. Hundreds of candles cast a warm glow over tables filled with flowers, while soft music played in the background. This charity gala would be the biggest test yet of whether the royal family had truly won back the hearts of the British people. Prince William and Catherine arrived together, looking more radiant and confident than they had in months. Catherine wore an elegant navy blue gown that sparkled under the ballroom lights, while William looked distinguished in his formal evening wear. They walked hand in hand through the entrance as photographers captured every moment of their arrival. The crowd inside the ballroom rose to their feet in thunderous applause as the royal couple entered. Business leaders, celebrities, and charity workers had paid hundreds of pounds each to attend this special evening. Their warm welcome showed that people were genuinely happy to see William and Catherine back together and looking strong after their difficult months. Catherine gave her first major speech since returning to public life, standing confidently at the podium, with William nearby for support. She spoke about the importance of family during challenging times and how facing difficulties together had made their relationship stronger than ever before. Her voice was clear and emotional as she thanked everyone for their patience and support during her recovery. William followed with his own speech about the lessons their family had learned about resilience and unity. He explained how their struggles had taught them to appreciate simple moments together and to never take their health or happiness for granted. The audience listened with obvious emotion as he spoke from his heart about protecting the people and values they cared about most. The surprise of the evening came when King Charles made an unexpected appearance, walking slowly but proudly into the ballroom. The crowd gasped with delight and broke into spontaneous applause as the king joined his son and daughter-in-law on stage. Despite his ongoing health challenges, Charles looked determined to support his family during this important moment. King Charles spoke briefly but powerfully about how proud he was of William and Catherine for their strength and dedication during difficult times. He praised their commitment to serving others, even while dealing with personal challenges. His presence sent a clear message that the royal family was united and ready to continue their work together. The three generations of royals stood together on stage, creating a powerful image that photographers captured for history. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis joined their parents and grandfather, looking happy and confident as they waved to the enthusiastic crowd below. The evening raised over £2 million for charity supporting families dealing with serious illness and other hardships. The money would fund counseling services, medical research, and support programs that would help thousands of people across Britain. The success proved that people still believed in the royal family and wanted to support their charitable work. During the reception afterward, William and Catherine moved through the crowd, talking personally with guests about their experiences and future plans. They shared stories about what they had learned during their difficult months and how those lessons would guide their royal work going forward. A young woman named Sarah approached Catherine to thank her for being open about health struggles. Sarah explained that seeing the princess face challenges with courage had helped her deal with her own medical problems. Catherine was deeply moved by this conversation and realized how much their honesty had meant to ordinary people facing similar difficulties. As the evening ended, the royal family stood together, looking out at a room full of supporters who believed in their mission and their future. They had successfully shown the world that facing challenges honestly could make them stronger rather than weaker. 6 months later, the morning sun streamed through the windows of Kensington Palace as Catherine sat in her favorite chair reading letters from people across Britain. The pile of mail had grown larger each week as more and more people wrote to share their own stories of overcoming difficult times. Catherine smiled as she read about families who had found strength during illness, children who had learned to be brave during scary situations, and couples who had grown closer through challenging periods. Prince William walked into the room carrying a cup of tea for his wife and sat down beside her. They had developed this peaceful morning routine of reading mail together and discussing their plans for the day. William looked relaxed and confident in a way he had not for many months. The heavy weight of uncertainty had lifted from his shoulders and been replaced by a clear sense of purpose and direction. The three children ran into the room still in their pajamas and climbed onto their parents' laps for morning cuddles. Prince George told his parents about a school project where he had written about courage and used his mother as an example of someone who had been brave during difficult times. Princess Charlotte showed them a drawing she had made of their family standing together under a rainbow after a storm. Little Prince Louis just wanted to play, but he seemed more settled and happy than he had during the difficult months when his parents had been worried and distracted. The whole family felt more connected and peaceful now that the crisis had passed and normal life had returned to their household. Catherine had returned to her full schedule of royal duties with renewed energy and purpose. Her visits to hospitals, schools, and charity organizations felt more meaningful now because she could speak from personal experience about facing challenges and finding hope during dark times. People responded to her with even greater warmth and appreciation than before her illness. William had grown into his role as a senior royal with remarkable confidence and skill. Government ministers sought his advice on important issues, and the public looked to him as a strong leader who could guide Britain through uncertain times. His speeches were quoted in newspapers around the world, and foreign leaders respected his thoughtful approach to international problems. The royal family as a whole had emerged from their difficult period stronger and more popular than ever before. Opinion polls showed record levels of support for the monarchy and positive feelings about the future of the royal family. People appreciated their honesty about facing challenges and their demonstration that even royals were human beings who struggled with real problems. King Charles had stabilized his health and returned to many of his royal duties, though at a more manageable pace than before. He was proud of how William and Catherine had handled their responsibilities during the crisis and confident that the monarchy would continue to serve Britain well in the years ahead. The children had learned important lessons about family loyalty, supporting each other during hard times, and the difference between being important and being kind. They continued to charm the public with their natural personalities, while showing the values their parents had taught them about treating everyone with respect and consideration. Catherine kept a special folder of letters from people who said her example had helped them through their own health battles, relationship problems, or family crisis. These personal connections reminded her every day why their decision to be open about their struggles had been the right choice, even when it felt scary and uncertain. As winter turned to spring, the royal family looked forward to the future with optimism and excitement. They had faced their greatest test and proven that love, courage, and unity could overcome any obstacle. The storm had passed, and a beautiful new chapter of their lives was beginning.